Let's try it again. Okay. Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you. Our service today is called The Adventure of Uncertainty. Now is when we say good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. I'm the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Intriligator. My pronouns are she and her. And I am recovering both from knee surgery and a bad haircut. But not to worry, I truly believe with enough patience and prayer and physical therapy, it will grow back. Thank you, Tom. But kidding aside, I want to say thank you so much for my medical leave. I really appreciate that y'all held down the fort while I was gone and gave me the time that I needed to take care of my body. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I want you to know I'm feeling stronger every day. I feel like I've turned a corner. And in some ways, I feel like maybe all of us have turned a corner in that we survived the cold, the Arctic cold blast yesterday, didn't we? I haven't heard that, anything to the contrary. I know our building survived and our pipes didn't freeze over, and that's great. I'm hearing a little buzz, and I'm seeing people looking at the speakers. Do you guys hear a buzz too? There's the machines, the big machines. Okay, well, let's persevere. So, we survived the Arctic cold blast, and, we've survived the 10 weeks of the longest nights and the shortest days. From here on out, everything is going to get brighter, and let's hope warmer. And so, I feel like things are going well. And the COVID numbers are going down. Hooray! We're back to having our usual coffee hour drinks and snacks, and that feels good. And next Saturday, we're even going to have a meal together. It's the perennial favorite vegetarian chili cook-off and soup cook-off, too. And that's Saturday night downstairs, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm thinking of making a soup, so that sounds fun. I wanted to just mention, too, that the following week after that, so 2 weeks from today, and this is new news, so please mark your calendars, C.B. Beale returns to us, but for the first time, they will be here in person. And it's going to be a special day on February 19th because C.B. will come here, lead worship and a workshop in the afternoon. We'll have a little break for lunch, and then we'll have a workshop. And a few years ago, I'm bringing them in because a few years ago, this congregation decided to work toward diversity. And a key part of that is learning to manage and engage the diversity that we already have, to learn skills about talking about our own identities across race and class, gender, pronouns, all of those things. We all need skills to talk and listen deeply to one another. So I think that's going to be a great day. It's going to draw us together and help all of us in our own lives too. So please, if you can be here, I hope you will. Coming up soon after that is our church auction. And we can't have an auction without the items to bid on. I have bubbled up some creative new ideas of my own, and I'm hoping that you guys are doing it too. And if you need any help, let me know. I'm really good at writing blurbs, so I can help you with your ideas. And I think that will make the auction extra fun. The donations are due in by February 21st. I also want to mention to you today that Randall and John have chosen a date for the memorial service so that we can all come together and remember our beloved, longest-serving member, Margaret Gromenstein, who passed away a couple weeks ago. We'll be gathering here on Saturday morning, March 11th, so you might want to write that down and put it in your calendar too. As for today, our service is rooted in our UU central value of love with a capital L. And when we're rooted in that love, we're going to explore and look forward toward our future with the Next Steps process. Along with Kathy Sang, today I'll be hosting a discussion about the Next Steps process in the parlor. Feel free to grab a coffee and bring any questions or thoughts that you might have and join us. Right now, let's give a quick shout out to our helpers today. Big thank you to our usher, Beth Yergrau, our greeter, Kathy Sang, and our coffee hosts today, Florence Cordovano and Vincent Roger. Thank you all so much. We couldn't do it without you. I know what it is. It's my computer. Haven't done this in a while. That's what the echo was. All right, excellent. Yes, I did it. Okay. So now it's our moment to say hello to one another. Hi, everybody. And say hello to the people joining us on Zoom. Congratulations this morning if you got out of bed. I know I didn't want to, so thank you for coming in. And if you're at home and you're still in bed, there's no judgment. I'm glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, maybe that's right. Hello, everybody. Hello, okay. I call us to worship this morning with these words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here, here among us, here upon this earth, in your body. However tired or broken your heart may be, whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry. For this hour, know that you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, the choice to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. Already, we are organizing. Come, let us worship together. And now we light the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice, and here to do it for us this morning is longtime member Marie McQuaid. Thank you, Marie.
I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join me in the words of our covenant, which you can see on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
Thank you, Marie. Please remain standing and let us join together in our opening hymn, which is up on the screen. It's number 134 in the gray hymnal. Oh, no, just 34. Thank you, Jenny, in the gray hymnal. Though I may speak with bravest fire.
Our story today is What Do You Do with a Problem? Written by Kobe Yamada and illustrated by May Bessam. I don't know how it happened, but one day I had a problem. I didn't want it. I didn't ask for it. I really didn't like having a problem, but it was there. Why is it here? What does it want? What do you do with a problem? I thought. I wanted to make it go away. I shooed it. I scowled at it. I tried ignoring it, but nothing worked. I started to worry about my problem. What if it swallows me up? What if my problem sneaks up and gets me? What if it takes away all my things? I worried a lot. I worried about what would happen. I worried about what could happen. I worried about this, and I worried about that. And the more I worried, the bigger my problem became. I wished it would just disappear. I tried everything I could to hide from it. I even found ways to disguise myself, but it still found me. And the more I avoided my problem, the more I saw it everywhere. I thought about it all the time. I didn't feel good at all. I couldn't take it anymore. This has to stop, I declared. Maybe I was making my problem bigger and scarier than it actually was. After all, my problem hadn't really swallowed me up or attacked me. I realized that I had to face it. So even though I didn't want to, even though I was really afraid, I got ready and I tackled my problem. When I got face to face with it, I discovered something. My problem wasn't what I thought it was. I discovered it had something beautiful inside. My problem had an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to learn and grow, to be brave, to do something. It showed me that it was important to look closely because some opportunities only come once. So now I see problems differently. I'm not afraid anymore because I know their secret. Every problem has an opportunity for something good. You just have to look for it. Thank you for listening. Children, you can now come with me to religious education classes.
Every Sunday, in the center of our service, we create a moment together, a time of quiet contemplation, when each of us can connect to our higher selves and to the holy, however it is we understand that. Let's begin this time together by closing our eyes and breathing deeply. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your body relaxing, sinking into your seat, and breathe. In our meditation time, first we'll join together in our centering song, then we'll sit for a few minutes in shared silence, then we'll speak to one another of our joys and sorrows, and then I will lead us in a prayer. Our worship themes for February are love, and the sixth UUA principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. It's a month for us to feel, to nourish, and to express our love for ourselves, for each other, for our community, and for all living beings. Our centering song for February is number 299 in the Gray Hymnal, Make Channels for the Streams of Love. The lyrics will appear up here on the screen, so you can just stay in your seats, relax and enjoy, join in as you feel willing, and let the words and the song gently guide you into our time of meditation. It is our tradition in our worship service to share with one another the milestones of our lives, our personal joys and sorrows. We speak and listen to one another with care so that our sharing knits us together in love, in strength, in community. First, if folks on Zoom have a sorrow to share, I invite you now to type it into the chat box and I will read it aloud. If people in the room have a sorrow to share, please come forward now to speak at the mic so everyone can hear and see you. Beth, maybe we want to pull that forward a little bit. It's kind of too close. Great, thanks. Maybe it's not even on. There's a little switch on the front, Mary. I don't see the little light.
I'd like to light a candle of fairly regularly before we went into virtual mode before pandemic. On Friday mornings, and she did occasionally help with Bread of Life. But I spoke to her yesterday, and she's dealing with some long-term health concerns, and her spirits could use a little boost here and there. So if you feel like sending her a card, that would be wonderful. Her address is in the church directory, which you can get online in the members only section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Paul Belfonte and Michelle DeVoe. Yesterday, February 4th, marks a difficult day in our family history. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that mic's you're really close up.
Okay. 8 years ago, we lost my brother too soon to depression. And 1 year to the day later, we lost Michelle's brother to a pulmonary embolism. So it's always a rough weekend.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Michelle. Let me check our Zoom room. I don't see any sorrows in our Zoom room. So, Beth, if you would go ahead and light the candle for all the sorrows that have been shared today, and also for those that are unspoken, still in our hearts and minds. Let the candle remind us to reach out to one another with kindness and love, to let the people in our lives who are struggling know that we care. And now I invite the joys that you would like to share. People online can go ahead and type them in the chat box. People here in the room can come forward.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Griscom. I have a joy that our youngest young adult is returning to UMass Amherst today. And this past month has been an exercise for all of us in problem solving.
Me and my boyfriend are going on 1 month on Tuesday.
Oh, can you get way up close to the mic? I didn't hear any of that, and I'm right next to you. You can take it out, actually. Hold it up. There we go. Thanks.
Me and my boyfriend are going on 1 month on Tuesday.
Teenage problems. So my joy is that today I finally get to see Lily's dances because we're doing the winter show today. And if you want to join us, it's 2 o'clock at Anthony's in Malden.
I'm Dan Griscom, and Saturday night when the temperature is going down to minus 13 and the wind chill was minus 40 and we were tucked in our nice warm beds with the quilt on and the heated mattress pad, just realizing just how lucky I am.
Hi, I'm James Intrillator. Although he passed away about 8 years ago, my father would have been 85 today. It's his birthday. Thought it was a joy more than a sorrow. So we miss him.
Hi, I'm Erin Hobenadent. I'm just feeling very grateful this week. Last night, got to watch Melrose do really well in the high school trivia bowl. I had my first work trip in 3 years to New York City, and most importantly, this week marked 1 year that Sean had his surgery and is cancer-free.
It's a lot of beautiful joys. Aaron, thanks.
And I'm Beth Yurgrau, and this summer my son got married, and they waited to take their honeymoon, and they got back last week from Thailand and Vietnam, and both of them said it was the most amazing trip they'd ever had in their lives. So their marriage is off to a great start.
And in our Zoom room, let's see, from Jean Tay, a candle. Thank you to Mary Delahanty for leading the Bread of Life cooking this past Friday. We are so fortunate to have Mary at MUUC. From Dan Franklin, joy that my mother's broken ankle is almost healed and she was able to return to her apartment at New Horizons. And from Nyla, very happy that my daughter and I will be celebrating my mother's 88th birthday with her on the 8th. Beautiful joys. Thank you for sharing your joys. And Beth, you can go ahead and light the other candle. Let it be a beacon for all of us, a candle of gratitude for the many joys in all of our lives, the many blessings for which we are so grateful. Holding in our hearts and our minds all these joys and sorrows, all our cares and hopes for ourselves and for this world, I offer this prayer about the power of love. It was written by the Reverend Amanda Poppy, our minister in Arlington, Virginia. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love that our founders felt when they planned out these walls and raised these beams above us. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of all who have worshiped here, those who have celebrated and grieved here, the babies dedicated, the couples married, the family members mourned here. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of our children as they learn and laugh together, and our youth as they grow into their own sense of purpose and meaning. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of the staff who have served it, full of their hopes for this congregation, their hard work, and their acts of dedication. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of the choir, the love made so clear in their voices, lifted here every Sunday morning. This is the home that love made. It is full of our love, the love of this community, despite our differences and disagreements, the love that holds us together as a people. This is the home that love made. Can you feel it? May this love be with us always. Amen.
This church is a self-supporting organization funded by your generous annual pledge. You may also contribute to our weekly collection plate, which we split every month with a deserving cause. Folks on Zoom can donate either way using the orange button at the top right corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. For the month of February, as we honor our 6th UUA principle, the goal of world community, half of our collection plate will go to the Immigrant Support Alliance, a brand new nonprofit that has sprung up out of this church's immigration ministry team. We are proud to support this new effort, which helps to provide food, housing, financial, and social support to newly arrived Americans. For the offertory selection today, I'd like to play To a Wild Rose by the New England composer Edward MacDowell.
Thank you, Tom. We, you use, find sacred inspiration in all kinds of places. Our reading today is a 2.5-minute clip from the 1989 film, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Back in the day when we were Zoom only, I got spoiled because we could all see our movie clips a lot easier on our home screens. We have so much beautiful sunshine here today, it washes out the screen. Anyway, Indiana Jones looks over a big chasm, and it's empty, and he's got to jump over it, but he doesn't know how, and he has to step forward, and an invisible bridge suddenly appears and is visible. I'm sure you noticed in that clip, but just let me underline something. The bridge doesn't appear until Indy steps all the way out. He's got to be willing to let go, to risk everything in order for the bridge to appear. So, one of the things that I did on my medical leave after the anesthesia and the painkillers wore off is that I got to do a little bit of reading, and I found in my home study this booklet that I have been looking for years. I don't know who gave it to me. Someone in the first weeks when I got here 5 years ago, before all your names and faces were etched into my heart so clearly. I think it was either Nancy Nichols or maybe it was Nita Penfold. It's a booklet, it's called The First 100 Years, and it was published by this church in 1967. Just little snippets put together by a volunteer here, and it's a history of the Melrose Unitarian Church. So it's the first 100 years of one half of our heritage, just the Unitarian Church, because they didn't merge until 1971 or 72, so they didn't, 74 says Randall, so they didn't know at the time. But this little booklet is full of some, I think, really interesting stories that I love to revisit every now and then because they resonate for me. So I want to share one of those stories with you today. Way back, so in 1867, that is when the Unitarians came together and coalesced and incorporated here in Melrose. The Universalists were 15 years ahead. They already had some land and a building in town. But the Unitarians were just formed in 1867. They called their first minister on a 6-month contract and their second minister on a 1-year contract. And it was just at the end of that second minister's term, and attendance was kind of falling down. They didn't have land of their own. I forgot to say they rented out a building called the Concert Hall, which used to be on Main Street downtown, right across the street from the big First Baptist Church, which I believe is the same building that's there now. So the Unitarians met in the concert hall. They rented that space. Their second minister, attendance is flagging. And they had 40 or 50 families attending when they first joined together, but a year and a half later, they were getting really nervous about the state of their little experiment, their fledgling congregation. And then something really strange happened, not at the Unitarians, but across the street in the Baptist church. The minister there, the Reverend William Sullivan Barnes, somehow had a change of heart, a change of mind, a radical shift in his theology, all the way to the left, and he decided that he had to quit the Baptist ministry. He couldn't do it anymore with full conscience. Well, the Unitarians heard about this, and they invited him to come and preach to them and say what he thought, what had happened. And he did. And he was a huge hit, so much so that the Unitarians invited the Baptist minister to come and be their minister. So Reverend William S. Barnes, the third minister of the Unitarian Church of Melrose, came, and he was such a great speaker that some huge proportion of the Baptists came with him, as did some of the Congregationalists and some of the Methodists in town when they heard about it. And suddenly the little Unitarian group swelled up, its Sunday school prospered, they were thrilled. But there was still a big group of Baptists in town who weren't so happy with Reverend Barnes. And he was a sensitive soul, and they made his life a little difficult, I'm inferring. And after about 5 months, he decided he had to leave. But he stayed a Unitarian minister, and he went over and he became the minister of the church in Woburn, and he stayed there for 10 years. And then he went up, he was called to the big church in Montreal, where he served for 30 years. I think it's a pretty amazing story of courage. And I was thinking about Barnes just in the last few days when I heard the story, the recent little anecdote about Marie Kondo. You know, she's the queen of cleaning up. She wrote the book, The Art of Tidying Up, and she had that hit Netflix TV show, and she had such peace, and everything in her house was so perfect. And she announced to the world this week that after the birth of her third baby, she had kind of given up. Those are her words. And her house is messy now. And you know, as a mother of three, I felt so vindicated. James was there. I shouted, I jumped up, I laughed, I sent it to some friends. Maybe it was a little schadenfreude, and I admit that. But afterward, I thought, what courage, you know, just like Reverend Barnes, to have built your whole professional reputation on one strong stand that you took, and then in the middle, in midlife, to say to the world, I'm changing, I'm evolving. What was true for me before is not true anymore. That takes real courage. And I think courage is really a form of love. Last fall, our congregation engaged in a big process called Next Steps. Our board chose it for 4 big reasons: to bring us back together again after 2 difficult pandemic years, to focus again on our values, to get a sense of our current health and strengths, and to begin to figure out how to move forward from here. In December, our consultant, Liz Coit, issued her final report to the board. In January, the board shared it with the congregation along with a summary and some adjacent documents. In February, now, we are digesting it together and forming our next steps, which are the learning agendas and the innovation teams. A key piece of this whole process is the concept of liminality. Now, in our early meetings, I heard several people say, what the heck is that? What does that mean? So I think it's worth revisiting because it's a piece of the context of the whole effort. Quite simply, liminality is the space between. Between, say, over here, let's say that's the past, who we used to be, how we've always done things, what is familiar to us and known. And the space over here, the future, the unknown, a new purpose, a new identity, a new way of being that we can't even imagine at this point. And in between the two is the liminal space, the anxious space, the I don't know space, the I can't see the path forward space. The word liminality comes from the Latin limen, which means threshold. It's literally the stone that you had to walk over to enter a new space. And this concept is actually well known in art and architecture, where I got this photo. It's a space, in architecture, it's a space that you move through, you don't stay in. So hallways, elevators, airports. I stole this image from The New Yorker, a piece they ran called The Pleasant Head Trip of Liminal Spaces. It's a little weird and eerie, isn't it? The church consultant Susan Beaumont, who's a real favorite of mine and Liz Coit's and every minister I know, wrote a whole book on exactly this with a great title. It's called How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going, Leading in a Liminal Season. And she published it in 2017, 3 years before the pandemic. Why? Because she consults with mainstream churches, and they were already in crisis before the pandemic. As we know, in 1976, 80% of Americans identified as white Christians, and in 2020, that's down to 44%. 80% to 44%. At the same time, the number of people in the US who are not affiliated with any kind of religion has tripled. Today, the unaffiliated, we call them nuns, because under religion, they check off none. They make up roughly 1/4 of the US population, and young adults are the most likely to say they are nuns. They call themselves atheist, agnostic, or otherwise secular. Now, you might like that statistic because you might reason that atheists and agnostics are just exactly the kind of people who join UU churches. But That is not what's actually happening. See, back in the day, when I came into Unitarian Universalism, and most of us, maybe you too, we call you a come-outer. These are people who are raised in other religious traditions, but lose or change that faith, and they used to become UUs. But today, most young adults are not raised in religious traditions. They've been secular their whole lives. So unlike come-outers like me, today's young adults don't have a church-shaped hole. They're not looking for a religious community without harmful theology, so they have no reason to come here and look around. Plainly put, there are no more come-outers. They're just nuns, and they want to stay that way. So, mainstream Christianity was already shrinking and in crisis before the pandemic. What about UUs? Here's some numbers. In 1961, there were about 150,000 adult UUs in the US in about 1,000 churches. Today, more than 60 years later, there are still about 150,000 adult UUs in 1,000 churches. No real growth at all in 60 years. The real difference is more striking if you look at kids and youth registered in our programs. In 1961, there were about 80,000. Today, there's less than half that, about 34,000. The numbers are not going in our favor. In this church, membership and pledges are holding steady. Thank you. Our finances are healthy, and we have a strong leadership team, including the staff and board members and vibrant committees. Thank you. And even during the pandemic, both of our ministry teams spun off new nonprofit organizations. There's a lot to be proud of in this congregation. At the same time, though, we need to say out loud that several families have fallen away. During the pandemic, they didn't like Zoom worship. They found other things to do on Sunday mornings. And so our RE program has really struggled. It has shrunk down. At every age level, we've lost critical mass. There just aren't enough kids here to get other kids interested in coming. And we don't know how to draw in new families or reclaim the ones who've left. We need to look at the truth, and maybe that truth is they don't want what we have. Maybe we should be building something else, but what would that even look like? And if we don't figure that out, if we don't actually manage to bring in more new families, how long can this church survive? We need to look. We need to stop and think. It is a liminal time. And in liminal times, we have way more questions than answers. In liminal times, too much is changing all at once, and we can't see the path ahead. We are Indiana Jones standing there on that little ledge looking out at a really deep chasm. And it's scary. Let's just stand here for a moment. Let's take a minute to breathe. It's scary. It's okay to admit that. We love this church, we want it to thrive, but the numbers are not on our side, and we don't have the answers. We may have to let go of things that we love. We may have to change in fundamental ways. We don't know how we're going to get across that chasm. The bridge is still invisible. But here's the good news. And there's actually a lot of good news if you just hang in there for a minute with me, I promise. First, we are not alone. We have each other, and that always makes a big difference. Second, unlike Indiana Jones, we have time. We don't need to rush. We won't make any big decisions for months yet. So we can just keep breathing. It's okay. Third, and I know you will really like this part, you don't have to help. Unlike the pledge drive or the cottage meeting process, we don't need 100% participation right now. Right now, we just need a few people people who are interested in our questions to get involved. So, let me ask you, if you could see it, before Indiana Jones decides to walk out, what does he do? Several things, but the first one, he looks at his book, right? He looks at that book that's in his hand. He does his research, and that's our next step, research. We're right now forming our driving questions. We're leaning into what we don't know. We don't know, and we're going to find out. We're going to create these innovation teams to do research and generate ideas, and then we're going to experiment. We're going to ask, how are other churches reaching out to families? What works now after the pandemic? What do families need? What do our elders need? And in this fast-changing town, Melrose and neighboring towns, Stoneham, Saugus, who is our neighbor? What do they need? Are there problems we're not addressing, groups we're not building relationships with? What is the Spirit of love calling us to do in this time? And here in our church, are there ways that we can improve our systems? Can we restructure things so that our volunteers don't feel burdened and are in fact rewarded and refreshed by serving the church? Next week's sermon will be all about these questions, about creating our learning agenda and the innovation teams who are going to go come up with some wild ideas. And we will look at success stories next week, churches just like ours who managed to build bridges to new purpose, new mission, new thriving that they could never have imagined before. It's been done, and we can learn from them. Now, who remembers from the movie clip, if you could see it? When Indy looks at his book, what does he see? Somebody jumping over the chasm, yeah. This book is actually notes that his father made, right? In this movie, Indy's father is Sean Connery. He's also a world-renowned archaeologist, and he's been here before, and he made notes. And in that moment, Indy does his research, but really what he gets there is guidance from an expert. And then he takes a deep breath, and he decides to trust that guidance, to have faith in that guidance. And for me, this is the best good news. We have good guidance too, which we will use. The board has voted to keep Liz Coit on as our coach in this process, so we have her help. And we have all the books and articles from Susan Beaumont and plenty of other experts too. And the experts agree. From Indy to Reverend Barnes to Marie Kondo to church consultants, they will all tell us that when we become willing to step out, to let go of the past, to lean in to I don't know, only then, that's when the magic happens, when inspiration can come to us, when creativity blooms into innovation and experimentation. And that's when the real learning starts. It's when we become ready and open that the Spirit moves among us and transforms us into something new. My friends, this is our Indiana Jones moment. Together today, we are looking at that big chasm. Together, over the next year or so, we will decide what to do next. I hope that first, like Indy, we will look in our book, we will do our research, seek out the guidance of experts, the guidance of our own communal wisdom, the guidance of the Spirit moving among us. And then maybe we might decide to take that deep breath and step out. Together, let us pray that we may find, that we may build a bridge into our future, one faithful step at a time. Amen. Thank you, Tom. If you would, please rise as you are able and join, please, in the closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love. It is number 1014, I believe, in the Teal hymnal, but we're not going to sing those lyrics. We're going to sing the new improved lyrics, which will be here up on the screen. Thank you, choir members, for leading us. Okay, let's remain standing, please, and join together in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated. Worship has ended. Thank you so much for joining in today. Please enjoy a brief postlude from Tom before we gather for coffee hour in Parish Hall. If you'd like, please join in a follow-up discussion with me and Kathy Sang about our next steps process. That'll be in the parlor. Grab a coffee and bring your thoughts and questions. Folks on Zoom, go ahead and click on the Join a Breakout Room box if you want to have a chat with your friends there. Thank you all for worshiping with us today. Stay warm and happy Sunday.